of January 17th, 2024 to order. Thank you, Veteran Don Bradley, for joining us again to lead us in the pledge, and John Kleindance, who's going to pinch hit for Dr. Waldhauer, who's unable to be with us today on the vacation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As you can tell, I'm not Dr. Waldhauer, but I will try to do him justice. You be with me in an attitude of prayer. Lord in heaven, we come before you today offering our thanks for bringing us together safely, especially during this time of winter that you've brought to us. Sometimes it's easy to forget that our safe arrival and our safe departure home is a grace from you. As we prepare for this meeting, we ask that you would be with us. May our thoughts be led by you and our conversation be inspired by you. Help us to put our own agendas to the side and seek your will and outcome for this meeting. We ask that you grant us wisdom in times of uncertainty and clarity in times of confusion. Lead us to solutions and help us to strengthen as a community. All of this we ask in your name.
It's nice to see a full audience out there. Just for the minutes, we started 20 minutes late today because the agenda was not posted at 10 a.m. and we wanted to ensure that the agenda was posted for 24 hours prior to the meeting. So apologize that we're starting a little bit late, but that was to ensure that we gave 24 hours notice on the agenda for the meetings today. The other thing that you'll see today is we've added a new item to our agenda. We will have a chief clerk's report. The spirit behind this agenda item was to have the chief clerk talk a little bit about some of the motions on the agenda in detail prior to them coming up for a vote. And during the report, I know that chief clerk will be asking some folks in the audience to come up and give some additional specifics on agenda items. So with that, we'll move on to item number 2.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the January 3rd, 2024 Board of Commissioners meeting as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we will turn it over to Gregory Munski.
Thank you, Commissioner. I prefer not to spend all this time talking myself, so I'll, as much as possible, pull up individuals who know a lot more than me about these items to talk about them. So first on the agenda, in terms of the consent agenda, could I have Claire Dahl, our Executive Director of Human Services, come up and speak to some of the items on the consent agenda, if appropriate?
Good morning. Before I start, first a shout out to our maintenance staff for all the work they did clearing the snow. Did a great job out by the Human Services Center. So thanks to Randy, Jim, and all the others. So what we have is really nothing new as far as the consent agenda for Human Services. We have our routine subsidy agreements for adoption from children, youth, and families. We have one change in shelter bed. Beyond that, not a whole lot that's new. So if you do find that you have questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Claire. First item that's up under new business is a motion to approve a 2024 allocation of county funds to the York County Agricultural Land Preservation Board. So if I could have Eric Naylor come up and speak to that matter and give a little bit of detail about what we're doing.
Everybody. I'm the director of York County's Ag Preserve Board. The motion on the agenda today, which is to certify our 2024 county allocation for farmland preservation. I want to give you guys a little bit of background on where that funding comes from. In 2019, the Board of Commissioners passed a resolution which allocated 1/10 of a mil of everybody's taxes in the county to go to open space and land preservation in York. 10% of that value goes to funding projects and planning in the county. 90% of that value goes towards easement acquisition and purchase of land. 57% of that 90% goes directly to the York County Ag Land Preserve Board. What we do is we preserve commercially agricultural productive farms in the county. We take the 57% of your allocation and we add that with all of the interest on all the clean and green violations in the county. So as landowners violate their clean and green agreement, the interest of those violations also goes towards land preservation. So we add those two funds together to total the amount that we're approving today, which is $1.562 million. Being a certified county program by the state, we then take all of those funds and certify them up to the Department of Agriculture, and they will match us a certain percent of those funds. In the past, with an allocation of this amount, we will probably get an additional $2 to $2.5 million from the state to preserve farmland as well. So likely in 2024, as long as everything is passed today, you know, we'll have closer to $4 million to preserve farmland in York County in 2024.
Any questions for Eric?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Next item to highlight would be number 4, which would be the purchase of a conservation easement on behalf of the Farm and Natural Lands Trust. So, Sean, if you would mind getting up and speaking to that a little bit.
Good morning. My name is Sean Kenny. I'm the Executive Director of Farm and Natural Lands Trust of York County, and thanks for having me today. As Eric noted, for the last several years, we've had the mill that goes towards open space and land preservation. Farm and Natural Lands Trust receives a portion of those funds. We match those funds locally with some charitable foundations that assist us in payments to landowners. The bulk of the landowner benefit is in a optional charitable tax deduction, which goes on their federal income taxes. Our goal annually is 1,000 acres preserved a year, so usually 10 to 12 properties. Sometimes we get down closer to 8, sometimes a little more. That can lead into multi-million-dollar charitable deductions on the federal taxes, so it doesn't impact the taxes locally. This is a permanent easement. We do work on some commercially viable farms, and some of them are smaller farms, and we do some entirely wooded properties. Our name is long enough and a tongue twister, Farm and Natural Lands Trust of York County, because a lot of farms in York County have a lot of mix. So there's agricultural land and there's woodland and there's streams and wetlands. We do partner with the Ag Preserve Board as well, and we'll work on properties where they take the agricultural portion and we'll take some of the woodland buffer areas and natural areas, environmentally sensitive wildlife habitat and things of that nature. The property I have today that I'm bringing to you is down in Airville on Frosty Hill Road. And oddly enough, a few days ago on Frosty Hill Road, I saw something about that is the home place of the H.B. Reese family. I don't know if that was this exact farm, but that's where Reese's Peanut Butter Cups were born and made famous. So nice to preserve some of the agricultural area, and you can only imagine going back in time there. About 2/3 of this property is class 2 and 3 soils, I believe. It's got a wooded buffer around it, which makes up about the other third of the property. It connects to one of our existing preserved properties, is something we always want to do. That connects to over 1,000 acres. It's done through the Ag Preserve Board, and then some with us, and then eventually connects to some land the Lancaster Conservancy owns. So this is a really large swath area that's covered with preservation, great soils, and probably beautiful. I normally send photos in the packet. We've been delayed twice due to snow. We like to go when there's not snow, so we know they didn't pave over the property suddenly, but most people that are looking to preserve their land don't do that. So we were scheduled to get down Friday. It's not looking too good either, but maybe they'll get it as clean as your sidewalks here. So I think that's all I have. I'm open to any questions that you have, and thanks for having me.
Thanks. All good.
Thank you. Next item I wanted to highlight was number 6 on the agenda, which is the approval of a master services agreement between the county on behalf of the Assessment Office and Pictometry International Corp., doing business as Eagleview. This is a service and a software package that the county is purchasing primarily for the use of the Assessment Office to provide aerial imaging of the county. Not only vertical aerial imagery, but oblique aerial imagery. This technology and having access to it is going to enable our assessment office to streamline their processes, verify their data, and ultimately minimize the need for, to be visiting properties. The software itself is going to be able to compare different images of the same area to find things that might be different, that may trigger some review by the assessment office. The cost of it over time, we believe, will be absorbed through efficiencies in their processes. The service can also have applications for a number of other county departments as well, whether it be from Ag Land, Planning Commission, Conservation District, 911, EMS, the Sheriff's Office, and anybody else in the county who ultimately uses GIS. So we're very excited about this opportunity. Moving on to number 10 on your agenda is the motion to approve a bid award for the installation of equipment for the Urban Wireless Project. This was tabled at a prior meeting. Okay.
That's better.
Yeah, okay. So these were tabled at a prior meeting. Ultimately, they're coming back onto the agenda. These were put out for bid for companies who will actually be performing the installation of the equipment. And so those are on your agenda for the 3 sites that are part of that program. Number 11 is the award of a bid for our Middle Mile project. The county had gone through and put out an RFPQ in August for companies who would be able to assist the county with design, engineering, and consulting services for building out the Middle Mile broadband project for laying fiber across the county, fiber infrastructure. We had spent a very long time meeting with those companies, reviewing their submissions, and consulting with them, and ultimately we have decided to propose that the commissioners approve a company called Network Building and Consulting, LLC. They are headquartered in Maryland and have offices outside of Philadelphia, as well as many other places around, all up and down the East Coast. So we're very confident in their ability to help us, help guide us through the installation of the Middle Mile fiber infrastructure project. So we're very excited to potentially be working with them pending your approval. Number 12. Sure.
Silas is going to talk.
Oh, Silas, sorry. Silas, if you would, please come up and share additional information if you can.
Thanks, Rebecca. And good morning. I'm Silas Chamberlain. I work with the York County Economic Alliance, but also serve as chair of the Yoco Fiber Broadband Task Force on behalf of the county commissioners. And I'm just going to provide, thank you, some context on the motions that are on the agenda today. And just want to start with a reminder, because we've been talking about this now for 3 years in various forums, about the digital divide in York County. This is census data showing access to high-speed broadband across York County, and the percentages that you're seeing are the areas of the county that are underserved or unserved by broadband internet. And those who know the county well won't be surprised to see areas like the Brogue and Southeastern School District showing up, where there's, in some areas, almost 3/4 of households without high-speed internet. But even the widespread purple areas, there's about 1/3 of county households that don't have high-speed internet. We took this census data, which is done on a national level, and also did a countywide demand aggregation survey about 18 months ago that found, and we surveyed about 1,300 survey participants across York County, and really found that that census data is consistent. 31% of those surveyed do not have high-speed internet access. There's widespread dissatisfaction or frustration with accessing the internet. And even amongst folks who do have some form of internet, it's not meeting the standard for high speed that the FCC sets. We also collected a lot of anecdotal information during that of people talking about how lack of access to the internet impacts their small business, makes it difficult for their children to access educational resources. We just had a remote day yesterday where students across the county were asked to log into their homework portals and do remote work. Many across the county would have had a very hard time doing that. And understanding that really in the 21st century, access to high-speed internet is not a luxury, it's a crucial service. So in response to that data, and at the time of the pandemic, the commissioners created a countywide broadband strategy working with lit communities and a task force, the Yoco Fiber Broadband Task Force, which has been meeting ever since. In June 2021, the commissioners approved up to $25 million to implement the findings and the strategies within that broadband business plan, and that included 2 signature projects. One was Middle Mile Design and Construction with a $20 million allocation, and then an urban wireless network in the York and Hanover metros with a $5 million allocation. The task force itself is composed of a variety of stakeholders from intentionally not internet service providers, but those working in healthcare, K-12 education, higher education, economic development, local government, and the county itself. And I always want to thank the task force members who have now spent several years working on these issues and have been able to advise us in a number of ways about the best approach. So beginning with the Middle Mile Network in Southern York County, again, there was up to $20 million allocated for this work. A while ago, we had, during the initial RFI, had tried to work with lit communities, who was selected as the vendor, and ultimately didn't come to a mutual agreement on a contract. That allowed the county to go back out in July 2023 with an RFI and solicit much more input from potential partners. And we spent time, as Greg noted, reviewing those qualified applicants. Several rose to the top, had follow-up meetings with them, and ultimately Network Building and Design was selected through that public bid process as the preferred vendor. Just reiterating Greg's point that NBNC has significant experience. They have been around since 1984 working in this space. They have a very large staff, which allows them to move quickly. Despite the volume of projects that are occurring across the country, they've done more than 1,000 fiber engineering projects, and very enticing to us, they have lots of partnerships with ISPs, because as we all know, as we bid up this middle mile, the next step is having providers come in and actually build fiber to the home and fiber to the premise. The second major project was the urban wireless projects for York and Hanover metros. This is the census data for both of those communities, Hanover Borough on the left and York on the right. And you can see that despite the presence of fiber in both those communities, there's still 36% of households in the Hanover area. And actually, I was looking at the data again this morning. If you drill down into downtown Hanover, it's more like 45%. And then 44% of households across the city of York that still don't have cable access. When you look at where cable and fiber are actually present, it would show that the entire city of York is already covered, and that's why this is so troubling. It means that although there's already fiber infrastructure, affordability issues, the inability to enter a contract with an ISP because maybe you don't have a fixed address, you could be homeless, or you could just be living in a multi-generational household where somebody else enters a contract, you may have defaulted on a previous agreement, not returned equipment. There's a variety of scenarios that keep people from accessing high-speed internet that results in these numbers. So and in trying to quantify that, because you might wonder how many people does this impact, we're estimating, based on that census data and the size of households in each of these communities, across both these networks, approximately 26,000, almost 27,000 residents that are facing barriers to access to the internet, which affects their ability to do telehealth, remote education, search for a job, search for an apartment, and all the basic things that access to the internet allows you to do. So the commissioners, again, allocated $5 million for these networks. Business Information Group, which is based right here in the county of York, helped design the networks in the summer of 2022. And what you're seeing on the right is an incomplete portion of the network. The little yellow pinpoints are feeder sites. They're antennas that then broadcast to pole level attachments, which are the white and black dots along city streets. Approximately 4.5 million of that 5 million will go to the actual build out of these networks, and $500,000 invested in design. Across both networks, there's 17 feeder sites that will connect to 1,121 pole locations. And the current motion that's on your agenda is for the first 3 feeder sites, 2 in the city of York and 1 in the borough of Hanover. Our task force met recently and reviewed this update and reviewed the motions that were on the agenda, and unanimously recommended for approval the 2 motions, including entering into an agreement with Network Building and Consulting LLC for the middle mile design, engineering, construction management, and consulting services, as well as proceeding with the first 3 installations of feeder sites with IBABLE. So in short, the task force is excited to move forward with both these projects. There's been several years of due diligence leading up to this point, and as recently as yesterday, the task force endorsed the commissioner's action on both these motions. Any questions?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alice. The next thing to bring to your attention, we have motion 12. This is the approval of a contract between the county on behalf of the Office of Elections and Phoenix Graphics to provide printing services in relation to the 24 primary and general elections. This is under a CoStarz contract. The elections office has been looking for another printing service. The biggest thing that we were looking for was the ability to track mail-in ballots, so we are aware once they get into the mail of where they're located and when they end up in the hands of the voter, which is a service we did not have previously. I see Brian is out there. Brian, is there anything you want to add?
Good morning, Commissioners. Just for your knowledge, this is not going to result in, sorry, I'm a little bit shorter than the last presenter. This is not going to result in any additional per ballot spending for the county. This is going to be we're not going to be net positive or net negative. And our office is very excited to get started with Phoenix Graphics. Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks.
And I know that they put in a great deal of time vetting all the different options that they had, consulting with other counties that have worked with this company and others, and they're excited to move forward. So this also was recommended or approved by the Elections Board on October 11th. And the last thing I wanted to highlight is just the weekly disbursements for the week ending January 17th and January 10th are particularly high, a little bit higher than normal. Just a small explanation of that. The January 10th, because of the accounting processes and turning over the new year, actually is 2 weeks worth of checks that have been run, which is the main reason why that one is particularly high. And the disbursements of about $15.4 million for the week of January 17th. Large portion of that, almost about $8.9 million of that, are quarterly Medicaid and Medicare payments that we make on behalf of the York Adams Health Choices.
Great.
That
Anything
concludes
else
my
to
report.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so we'll go back up, and we'll now open it up for any public comment related to agenda items.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Laura
Just a
Boss.
reminder, yep,
Oh,
name, municipality, great.
sure. Laura Basso, Fairview Township. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here today to ask you to vote no on item number 10. The past weekend, our team spent time knocking on doors of people living in the neighborhoods where you plan to build out and further densify wireless radiation. The people we spoke to were shocked, dismayed, and disgusted with the information we shared. While we realize you came to this decision through a public-private partnership by consulting industry and unelected non-government agencies with very little input from the people who elected you to serve, I'm here to say it's not too late to change course. There are people across the country opposing the build-out of the wireless grid. Communities are pushing back. Many are winning local victories by stopping the installation of wireless facilities in residential areas and near schools. Cities and communities in New York, Connecticut, Illinois, Idaho, California, Tennessee, New Jersey, and more. Even Los Angeles School District prohibits school cell towers. Building out the wireless grid is dangerous in so many levels, and many communities are working to protect their citizens, their children, their privacy, and the environment. So why am I here today? Why would I spend my time knocking on doors and speaking with strangers? Why am I advocating for people I don't know and low-income city kids? To be honest, I can think of 100 things I'd rather be doing right now than standing here, timer ticking away, trying to convince you that your high-profit plan recommended by industry is really bad for the people. I'm certainly not here because this is fun or easy or anything remotely close to something I want to do. I am driven to be here because as one of the people, I know the facts about this hazardous pollution. And I personally know people who are suffering because of it. I know real people who have been physically harmed, debilitated, and had their lives turned upside down because of the effects of radiofrequency microwave radiation. I've seen local and state government turn their backs on them and choose industry over them. I can't turn my back on them. I care deeply about them. I care about the people living in these neighborhoods. I care about the environment. And above all, I care about the children. I hope you care too. I'm asking you to vote no on item number 10 and bring fiber optics to the premises for everyone in York County because their lives and the future of York matters greatly to me. Thank you.
Sarah Thompson, Windsor Township. Good morning, Commissioners. We have spent the last several months educating and advocating for the people of York County against the wireless radiation regarding agenda item number 10. We have shown you the unconstitutionality of increasing surveillance of York County and how the military uses wireless radiation as a weapon, and the correlation to the CCP, as well as the 11,000 pages of impact wireless radiation has on health, and how the FCC still remains out of compliance regarding the 2021 lawsuit. So, the decision to look the other way and ignore the threat of installing a CCP's wireless system here in York raises serious moral and ethical questions from me. By voting yes, you have shown that you have made the decision to protect harmful pollution that may be purposed as a weapon system and not protect the people of York. It's concerning that with all the information that you're still willing to vote yes on a wireless radiation that would do more harm than good in our community. It makes me wonder if there's any incentives, financial or otherwise, that you, the commissioners, may wish to disclose that may be influencing your decision today. You, commissioners, still have the chance to abide by your oath to the Constitution and to the people of York County. And for the record, do you understand your decision that may cause harm to life and property and further increase the vulnerability of the wireless grid? Are you willing to take responsibility to the outcome of your choices today? Wireless radiation is not helping anyone get better internet conductivity. We're advocating for safer technology that is fiber optics to the premises, and you don't have to dig up the roads to do so. That all being said, there's a financial piece to this as well. Over time, it's more expensive to install, maintain, upgrade wireless radiation feeder sites than it is to place fiber optics to the premises. So the final cost over time, will that come out of our pockets? I'm acutely aware of our budget at this time of year due to our health insurance deductible being multiple thousands of dollars that we have to meet. We typically meet that the first week of February due to the high cost of my son's medications. He has intractable epilepsy that wireless radiation impacts. He's in the back. He's currently sleeping because he's had multiple seizures this morning. So by deploying wireless radiation, our family will suffer financially, emotionally, and psychologically, and we won't be able to move around York County that we call home. I would like to use a quote from Dr. Timothy Scholey. He is the author of the white paper that I emailed to you all this morning. He says, "This report asserts that first and foremost, the public needs publicly owned and controlled wired infrastructure that is inherently more future-proof and more reliable, more sustainable, more energy efficient, safer, and more essential to many other services. Wireless networks and services compared to the wired access are inherently more complex, costly, unstable, and constrained to what they can deliver. So is our health being monetized? Thank you for your time.
Any other public comment?
Darla Barley, Warrington Township. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here to ask you to vote no on Agenda Item 10. This past weekend, our team spent time speaking to residents in New York City who will be directly impacted by your wireless build-out plan, which includes the placement of base stations on their schools and many more radiation transmitting devices throughout their neighborhoods. As your own plan explains, this will be the most dense municipal Wi-Fi deployment of 4G, 5G technology in the USA and have the highest per square mile capacity of any Wi-Fi deployment. This may sound exciting to some, and according to an article by Nokia, mid-band spectrum, or 1 to 6 gigahertz, is considered perfect for 5G because it can carry plenty of data while traveling significant distances. But looking a bit closer, we know the signals for 4G, 5G, which operate at the same mid-band spectrum, are used by the military for their active denial weapons system because the signals can inflict intense pain to stun and immobilize. There's absolutely no question that the actual agent of 4G, 5G, radio frequency microwave radiation, defined as pollution by AT&T and Verizon, causes real and significant harm. Recent reports have emerged that reveal U.S. telecom companies are granting the use of their wireless networks to the CCP. The standardization of wireless networks is determined by the UN ITU, whose biggest contributor is China. All telecom companies and the FCC are in partnership with the UN ITU, and I have information to share with you to show that. The military intelligence community has been warning about the threat of an EMP taking out our grid and causing significant damage. An article from September 23 Military Research reports on the threat of electromagnetic weapons to the U.S. military and to civilians. Ignoring the threat of the CCP and installing wireless over fiber raises serious moral and ethical questions. A decision to protect harmful pollution that may be purposed as a weapon system and not the people of York will surely follow you. If you vote yes, you are willfully ignoring the current state of science regarding radio frequency exposure and willfully following inaccurate information from captured agencies and individuals who have conflicts of interest. If you vote today for this to go forward, you commissioners understand that your decision may cause harm to life and property and further increase the vulnerability of our wireless grid. Are you willing to take that responsibility? There's still a chance to abide by your oath to the Constitution and to the people of York County. As we canvassed the neighborhoods, we found multiple small wireless facilities, cell towers, and base stations on rooftops containing many antennas. Our devices measured a peak reading of 38,930 microwatts per meter square, which is considered an extreme hazard according to building biology and empirical science. I'll leave our findings with you today. Finally, I'll end with a quote from Martin Pall, PhD, bioscientist, Washington State University. Martin Pall says, "Putting in tens of millions of antennas without a single test of biological safety has got to be about the stupidest idea anyone has ever had." Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Good morning, Virginia Schultz, York Township. Good morning, Commissioners. Morning. A lovely morning. I enjoy seeing the snow. Many people do not, but it's a health benefit. I'd like to give you some information from the Environmental Health Trust, listing the many places in our country that have already taken responsible action to reduce this harm on the children. You've taken an oath just a few days ago to do the same thing, and we're asking you today to vote no to number 10, and perhaps even table number 6. Would you do that? The good of the people, not for $1. Here they are. Oregon state law have an investigation, have been investing money to investigate the health effects of wireless on children in schools. San Francisco, United Educators to SF, and they have a resolution for safer technology. California State PTA have a resolution on electromagnetic fields. Los Angeles School District prohibits school cell towers, RF limit 10,000 times lower than FCC. New Hampshire, 5G Commission recommended wired non-Wi-Fi in schools and reduce exposure to the public. Maryland Children Environmental Health and Protection Advisory Council reduce wireless in schools. New Jersey Education Association recommendations to reduce wireless in classrooms. New York State Teachers Union resolution, hazards of wireless radiation emission. Massachusetts Breast Cancer Association education curriculum on wireless. Why would they have a curriculum, the Cancer Society, on this danger? Because it's dangerous. Please vote no on number 10. Uphold the Constitution. For righteousness' sake, for the sake of the people, we the people are speaking. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Good morning, Matt Enright, Dover Township. Quick question for you. Resolution number 2024-3, amending resolution 2022-27, which enacted a tax refund. Amendments for the purpose of increasing the percentage of taxes eligible to be refunded for eligible residents for volunteer members of fire companies and nonprofit emergency medical service agencies. What is the percentage that's being increased? Like, how much is it going to, basically, is the question. Thank you.
This is public comment, not questions. I'm sure the resolution can be provided to you after the meeting. Okay. Any other public comment? Just want to make sure because we have a full audience. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda items for the Office of Children, Youth, and Families.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to new business.
Madam President, I move to approve items 1 through 15 as listed and highlighted by our chief clerk.
I second motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The motion's all carried. There was an executive session held on January 16th for the purposes of discussing personnel matters. I'll move on to other business. We have 3 resolutions for today.
Madam President, I make a motion to adopt Resolution 2024-01 on behalf of the Assessment Office, approving the property located at 17-19 South George Street into the county's LERTA abatement program effective from January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2033.
I'll second motion.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
I make a motion to adopt Resolution 2024-02 on behalf of the Assessment Office, approving the property located at 2214 North Franklin Street, Red Line, into the county's LERTA abatement program, effective from January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2033.
I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Third motion is to adopt Resolution 2023-03, amending Resolution 2022, actually, shouldn't it be 2024? So there's a typo.
Yes, that's correct.
The motion to adopt resolution should be 2024-03, not 2023-03, amending Resolution 2022-27, which enacted a tax refund for volunteer members of fire companies and nonprofit emergency medical service agencies. The amendment is for the purpose of increasing the percentage of taxes eligible to be refunded for eligible residents.
I second that motion as amended.
I have a motion and a second. I'm thrilled that we're able to do this for our volunteer firefighters. I know we have a bunch of chiefs here today. Public safety is of utmost importance to our community. I think most folks know we have 44 volunteer fire companies and nonprofit emergency medical service agencies who volunteer their time to put their lives on the line to keep our community safe. So I think this says a lot that York County supports what you do, and we're very grateful and thankful for what you do. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And I believe Chief Diodorf and Chief Doberman wanted to share a few comments.
Brad Doberman, Shrewsbury Borough, representing Shrewsbury Fire Company. Commissioners, thank you for enacting this resolution. This morning, sitting by the fireplace drinking my coffee, I was thinking of stats, something to say, and I thought, let me tell you a brief story, if you'll indulge me. November 9th, this past November, I was talking to a lady on the phone. 18 months before that, she was helping her husband in the backyard with a Kubota tractor, the kind that has a big front end loader. However it happened, she ended up underneath this tractor, perpendicular to the tractor, with it sitting on her chest. We were called to come help her. Our volunteer department with 2 other volunteer departments worked. We got her out, had a helicopter land at the scene, flew her away. In my almost 35 years experience, I thought we were flying her to the coroner's office. She had a broken finger, a shattered wrist, her hip was broken in 4 places, and 10 broken ribs. And when I talked to her in November, she had made a 100% recovery, and she was over 70 years old. It was an incredible story. Every member of our team contributed. We had 4 people ride the fire truck that day, but the tools we used, we had people doing fundraisers, we had people doing training on those tools. The tools are not cheap. All the way down to the person that mows the grass. We couldn't host our fundraisers if we didn't take care of our yard. So having a program like this to reward, motivate our current members, get new residents in the door to help us every step of the way, it's huge. And I believe this is the gold standard program that we're going to see emulated around the state, so thank you.
Good morning. Chad Dierdorf, President of the Fire Chiefs and Firefighters Association of York County. On behalf of all the York County Fire Chiefs and EMS leaders, I want to thank you for the increase. It was a success for the first year with the initial resolution, and we appreciated that. And when, you all collectively have seen the importance of the volunteers within the York County and what they do for their communities. Without them, the tax base would be astronomical for every municipality within the state, or within the county, and within the state. And since the 70s, we have seen a drastic reduction in volunteer firefighters. So understand that what they're doing is they are taking and they are leaving family members for their kids' birthdays, for Christmas, to help their community, to help the citizens in their community, to help the citizens of York County, the visitors of York County. Chief Doberman being a department that covers Interstate 83, so that whole stretch there from the state line up to the end of York County sees a lot of vehicle accidents that require a lot of manpower and a lot of time. So again, on behalf of all the chiefs from the county, thank you, and we appreciate your continued support of that service.
Thanks. Okay, we have 2 proclamations today. The first one, Commissioner Hoke is going to read for Poverty Awareness Month. I do believe we have some friends here from Community Progress Council. It's great to see you. You can stay afterwards. We'll do a little group photo with the proclamation. Okay, so with that, turn it over to Commissioner Hoke.
I'm proud to read this proclamation, Poverty Awareness Month. Whereas National Poverty Awareness Month, an annual observance held in January, was created to call attention to the impact of poverty in America. Currently, 9.2% of York County residents live in poverty, with 12% of children in York County living below the federal poverty line, unable to meet basic needs including food, clothing, and shelter. National Poverty Awareness Month is an opportunity to highlight Community Progress Council's commitment to ending poverty in York County by empowering individuals and families to move towards economic self-sufficiency. Realizing many factors can impact a family's economic situation and the path out of poverty is different for every individual or family. Community Progress Council has developed programs, partnerships, and resources to support such unique journey. Through early childhood education and Women, Infants, and Children WIC services in 2023, Community Progress Council serves 6,454 children living in poverty and their families. Community Progress Council has the largest provider of services to low-income families with children under 5 years old, has a unique opportunity to interpret generational poverty. Progress towards economic self-sufficiency requires comprehensive, integrated services, and a Community Progress Council has the leadership and expertise to lead the way. Individuals engaged in intensive coaching through Community Progress Councils achieved an average increase of $9,595 in individual income over a 12-month period. Community Progress Council coaches residents to self-sufficiency, enabling them to live free from public supports and allowing the county to reinvest in the community elsewhere. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of York County Commissioners do hereby proclaim National Poverty Awareness Month and recognize the impact of Community Progress Council in York and invite all to support the critical work of Community Progress Council in raising awareness and ending poverty in our community. Given this day in York in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania on the 17th day of January in the year of our Lord 2024, and it's signed by the current Board of York County Commissioners.
Did you want to share any comments? Sure.
Thank you, President Commissioner, and to Commissioners Hoke and Burford for presenting this proclamation today. My name is Ruth Robbins. I'm the Chief Program Officer for Community Progress Council. For those who don't know, Community Progress Council is York County's community action agency. Our mission is to empower people to move towards self-sufficiency and advocate for change to promote community growth. People frequently know us because of Head Start or WIC or our housing programs, but we serve more than 16,000 people across York County every year. We're here to recognize Poverty Awareness Month, but our mission doesn't talk about poverty. 42,000 people in York County live below the federal poverty guidelines, but 150,000, nearly 1 in 3, of our neighbors live below the self-sufficiency standard, meaning they struggle each month to make ends meet and afford their basic needs without public or private assistance. People living in poverty or just above it often experience multiple barriers to self-sufficiency. Community Progress Council takes a unique approach to these challenges by focusing on comprehensive, integrated services. We pay attention to how barriers interact, how unreliable transportation or childcare can impact a person's ability to hold a steady job, how lack of knowledge around budgeting can impact a person's ability to wisely use credit, address an unexpected expense, or save for the future. Comprehensive integrated services works. We can empower people to reach economic self-sufficiency. We have the power to interrupt generational poverty and change the lives of children and families in York County. We thank the County Commissioners and the County of York for supporting the work we do at Community Progress Council and invite the community to join us in our efforts. This month, we are hosting a poverty simulation, an opportunity to experience firsthand the challenges that low-income families face. We invite all of our community leaders and community members to join us on Tuesday evening, January 30th. You can find details and RSVP through our website at yorkcpc.org. Together, we can help York County families make progress, not just for a moment, but for life. Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. Thanks, Ruth. Sorry. Robin and CPC kind of synonymous, sorry. I would just echo what Ruth said. I participated in a poverty simulation. If you haven't done it, it really is a very educational process. So I would encourage you, if you have time, to definitely participate in that with the CPC. The next proclamation is for Community Risk Reduction Week, and Commissioner Burford is going to read that proclamation.
Good morning. It's my privilege to read this proclamation into the record, recognizing and promoting awareness of Community Risk Reduction Week. Whereas Community Risk Reduction Week runs from January 15th, 2024 through January 21st, 2024, with the goal of raising awareness among the fire service nationwide about the role of community risk reduction, CRR, and how any department, no matter the type or location, can use CRR strategies to make their community and department safer. And whereas every 21 seconds, a fire department in the United States responds to a fire somewhere in the nation, which are responsible for 3,790 deaths and 13,250 injuries annually, most of which were related to fires in the home. Whereas it is estimated that fires cause upwards of $18 billion in property damage, with a growing concern for wildland-urban interface fires around the country. Whereas the goal of community risk reduction is to reduce the occurrence and impact of emergency events for both community members and emergency responders through deliberate action in the areas of 5 E's: education, engineering, enforcement, emergency response, and economic incentive. Whereas community risk reduction is a data-informed process to identify and prioritize local risks, followed by integrated and strategic investment of resources to reduce their occurrence and impact. Whereas Monday, January 15, 2024, was Martin Luther King Day and is nationally recognized as a National Day of Service and an opportunity to reduce risks in our communities through a series of educational and other programs. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of York County, Pennsylvania, declare that the week of January 15th, 2024 be designated as CRR Week, a grassroots initiative of fire service professionals across the nation to raise awareness of the importance of CRR in the fire service community and an opportunity to make our community safer. Given this day in York, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, on the 17th day of January, in the year of our Lord, 2024.
Thank you. And thanks again to our firefighters who are here today. Okay, I will open it up once again for any public comment.
Dover Township. I am disappointed in the wireless. I haven't done the research, but I know my colleagues here have, and I really appreciate all that they've done. I would like to bring up the upcoming election. I've been told time and time again that York County is secure and safe, and I want to believe that, but there is still much public uncertainty about it. Well, we have our media over here that continues to just call us conspiracy theorists, and he doesn't do his due diligence. So I'm going to read some of the actual election troubles across the country. We had one even in York County that man was never prosecuted for disobeying the law, and he took his wife's ballot to mailed it. But Superior Court Judge William Clark nullified the results of a Democratic mayoral primary in November of 2023. That was in Bridgeport, Connecticut, because they illegally harvested absentee ballots. So I'm hoping this new system will take care of that, but I'm not confident. A California judge overturned the result in 2021 of a Compton City Council runoff race, and it tossed out four ballots that were not legally registered, and 5 people pleaded either guilty or no contest. So they only said there was 4, but there was a lot more. After discovering that 66 of the 84 absentee ballots cast in that Democratic primary, the aldermen overturned that one. I have a whole list here. It would take me, I don't know, 20 minutes to read. There's polls saying how many people now do not believe our elections are secure. So that is something that we you as administrators need to work on. Mr. DeMuro was prosecuted for accepting bribes ranging from $300 to $5,000 per election to add votes to voting machines. That was in New Jersey. Where is that? In Philadelphia. A U.S. Congressman, Michael Myers, was involved in another operation in Philadelphia. That was the same one in Philadelphia. In Patterson, New Jersey, City Council election in May of 2020 was overturned by a Superior Court with hundreds of absentee ballots. And in Jason Schofield, a Republican elections commissioner in New York, Troy, New York, used the State Board of Elections website to illegally obtain absentee ballots on behalf of other people. So it's happening. I can continue to go on, but I'm going to ask that we do an audit at the end of the election with 6 precincts this time. I'm going to ask that we allow more eyes on this. I have volunteers. We would like to be present with the testing of the machines. And so anything that we can do to reassure our public, because we're continuing to get, I don't trust it, I'm not voting. I'm not voting, I don't trust it. So we need to have just assurances that you're doing everything you possibly can to make sure our elections are secure. And I would hope our media would highlight some of those procedures. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Going once, going twice. Okay, if I could have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We are adjourned. If you all can stay and let us go through the next 2 meetings, we'll wait till then. Great. Okay, we'll move on to salary board.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the January 3rd, 2024 Salary Board meeting as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Open up for any public comment. Hearing none. If I can move on to the next motion.
I make a motion to approve the positions, salaries, hours of work, and fringe benefits as provided by existing collective bargaining agreements or as set forth in the York County Employee Handbook or York County Policy Manual for the following departments and row offices as stated below, with no additional benefits or concessions unless otherwise noted, and there is listed in the agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. There was an executive session of the Salary Board held on January 8th, 2024, for the purpose of discussing general personnel matters to include discussions on salary modifications, job description reviews, and reclassification reviews. Open up again for any public comment. Hearing none. If I could have a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we are adjourned, and we'll move on to Retirement Board.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting held on January 3rd, 2024 as submitted.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Open up for any public comment. On to new business.
I make a motion to include the following individuals on the monthly annuity payment list as listed below: April L. Boring, Prison; Kimberly M. Carpio, Aging; Robert D. Fetter, Conservation District; Charles D. Harsha, Prison; Jane A. Legore, MHIDD, Julie C. Rant, Court Administration, Robin L. Stifler, DJ Office Staff.
I'll second motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. There were no executive sessions since our last meeting. Open up for any public comment. Hearing none. If I could have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone, and we'll get,